All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our first summertime or off-season video that we're kind of doing a special feature, just something different every day. Um, Weekends, Saturday is looking at how things are now and maybe a little bit of going forward. Although I'm going to interject something in just a moment. Sundays are going to be looking back at history. Um, for example, today we're talking about what happened with the realignment. Um, that's why we got all the magnets on the board. As far as looking ahead, um, if you know regarding the video that I had posted before about um, the expansion draft, I was fed incorrect information by the league. So um, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that at the last minute, when the meetings took place this past week, they decided, no, we're going to do something different. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. But obviously, what I shared was not the way that it happened, even though that's what I've been told. So I'm going to be very careful about trying to look too far ahead and guess with things. All right. Now, tomorrow we are going to do a video about the Dashers, what happened to them. We have the logo here. Why did they fail? We're going to look at that. All right, that's looking back. Next weekend, next Saturday, I'm going to have um, creating a schedule matrix, but this is not dependent on the actual schedule that will come out. All right, so I can do that. It's kind of looking at the way things are, but I'm creating a mock schedule, and that was quite a challenge. Nonetheless, let's get into today. I babbled long enough about videos coming up in the future. All right, so what we got here, this is a map of a very distorted map of all the teams this past season and roughly geographically where they are. But the main reason that I put this together is to let you know that um, you know there's going to be pods, geographical pods that are used with the scheduling. That's one of the things I want to show you. But anyway, so we had, if you imagine a map, a very distorted map of the United States and the locations of the teams, this is roughly what we had. All right. Um, I'd done this video last weekend, and it's like, well, what does the league do? And then they surprised us and announced a realignment during the meeting. So now we're going to talk about why they did things the way they did. Was there a better option? In my opinion. We'll talk about that. All right. So the geographical pods, we have 4 general regions in the FPHL. And again, this is the teams from last year: Watertown, Binghamton, HC Venom, Danbury, up there in the Northeast. Over here, Port Huron, we had Motor City and the Dashers. They were kind of like the Great Lakes, Plains, Midwest, whatever you want to call it. And then we had this general southeastern region with these 4 teams here. All right. And then finally, we had 3 teams down kind of in the more southwestern part of the footprint for the league. So we had that. So let's change things up from last year to this upcoming year. All right. First of all, as we went through the season, we were told, okay, there's going to be a new team. What was this, March? We were told about the Topeka Scarecrows. So I don't have enough westward expansion on my board. So we're going to put them as close to the western edge of this as we can. All right. So the season ended, and first domino that fell, quite literally, was the announcement just a couple days after the completion of the season that the Dashers were out, and they're done. And I think probably tomorrow's video, this is the last time you're going to be seeing this magnet. All right. So we had that happen. All right. So that left us with, well, we have 14. We're just going farther west. However, then we had the development that, unbeknownst to anyone, this happened just a few days after the Dashers announced that they were folding. Behind the scenes, Motor City found out they were not going to be able to return to Big Boy Arena. And it was kind of a last minute thing. So now they are without a home. So they talked to the league, announced they wanted to file for dormancy. The league worked some things out. This whole process took about 3 weeks because we didn't know about Motor City, you know, going dormant until right before Game 3 of the finals. But nonetheless, Motor City, they're hopefully going to be back for not this next season, but the season after that. A lot of things going on. They were represented. They had representation at the meetings, so that was good. They're still involved in the league. All right. Final thing that happened was, well, HC Venom, they never even played their full schedule. They only played 53 games. The last game was canceled by the league. I won't go there. So, and we heard rumblings that they were not going to be returning in this iteration, in this form, that the Venom were going to be elsewhere. So, all right, we had the Scarecrows come in, and then we had the announcement, yes, we have a new team, kind of. Organizationally, we do have a new team. So, anyway, yeah, PD Ice Cats. Yes, this is a secondary logo. Yesterday, if you didn't catch it, they did their jersey and logo reveal with a primary logo. Very colorful, very interesting. Check that out. It's on the PD Pro Hockey Facebook page. All right. Anyway, so PD, they come in. Now, it's a new team. It's an expansion team. However, Parker Mescal worked things out with the league where basically, instead of participating in an expansion draft, he's like, well, I've owned the HC Venom now. I've got a roster that I can use. I'm just going to bring the roster down with me. Now, this is a new organization. HC Venom, there were only a couple people in the front office working, taking care of things. PD Ice Cats are going to be a fully staffed team. All right. They're going to have what Parker told me. They're going to have 8 to 10 people in the front office working. I mean, they're going to have a full staff. So that's good. All right. So PD Ice Cats in. And then once we found out the announcement with Motor City, the league very quickly reached out to the Indiana Sentinels, who had petitioned the league back in January. Actually, I think it was late December. To say, hey, we want to join. And the FPHL put some conditions on them. It's like, if you want to join, you're going to have to get some things done. Some conditions were met. And so with the absence of Motor City, the league reached out to Indiana and said, where are you in your process? They had discussions. The league was satisfied with how far they've come along. So we have the Indiana Sentinels. So we again have 14 teams. But things are a little different now. Our geographical pods are not even. And just with the footprint now, with the way teams were spread out, you couldn't have the same divisional alignment that you had this last year. All right, let's talk about our our geographical pods. First of all, we have 5 teams now in the southeast area. Okay, so this is where things get interesting with the schedule, and this is where we're kind of going to lead into for next week's video. All right, we had down in the southwest, we had 3. All right, and then Midwest Plains, whatever you want to call it. You have those guys. And finally, up in the northeast corridor, this is where the league started, and where it's kind of based its growth over the last few years. There we go. We have 4 pods, but they're not even. Last year we had 4, 3, 4, and 3. Now we have 3, 3, 3, 5. So this made the decision as far as how to realign divisions very interesting. Now last year you had a line drawn right across there. Okay. And the league had already kind of laid things into motion. They started working on a rough draft of the schedule. I saw the rough draft, or rough drafts, actually. There were 2. They were not the finalized version of the schedule that's going to come out probably in early June. But anyway, now we can't align divisions the same way, because if you draw that line where you had it before, well, you only have 6 teams in the Empire and 8 teams in the Continental. Now, my thought, my idea, because you don't want to break up rivalries. You have a very big rivalry right now between Carolina and Blue Ridge. You also have another rivalry between Columbus and Athens, natural rivals. You have this other rivalry as well, Monroe and Baton Rouge in Louisiana. So it was, you don't want to split things up, but the league looked at this and geographically said, well, we have to place 7 and 7. You have to have 7 Empire, 7 Continental. I would imagine they probably looked at an east-west alignment, but again, you have the same problem. You have 6 and 8, because you don't want to break these up. But this is what they did. Now, I thought the best idea was to have Empire Division. These 3, these 2, and Port Huron and Indiana, and have Topeka go in the Continental, kind of a big southern swing. But it does make sense with the way that the league did it, because the closest rival to Topeka is Indiana. It's about 8.5 hours bus ride. It's about 10 hours to Monroe. So we had a quandary. We can't really. It'd be hard to put Topeka down here in the South or the Continental, because you wouldn't be playing opponents as frequently. So what do you do? So that's why they decided to go with this and break up the Bobcat Carolina tandem. However, even though they did this is just for the purpose of even divisions and 5 spots and 5 spots for the playoffs. All right. So these two are still going to play each other a bunch of times. It's already been said by the league that is the plan. You're not going to have just a couple of games between it. These guys will be playing each other a lot. But this also preserves the other divisional rivalries. So divisions are not necessarily this year how you form the schedule. It's the geographical pods. All right. And that's why I thought it would be a good idea to take these two and move them up north. But then you're also splitting up this Great Lakes Midwest pod. So there was no easy solution to this. One way or the other, it was going to look weird and kind of out of place. And that's what we have. But I understand why the league did what it did. So I mean, it's 8 hours between these two. Obviously, these guys are only an hour and a half apart, but you relatively preserve your rivalries. And again, with the schedule, it's going to go by these geographical pods. Remember these cordoned off corners next week when I do my mock schedule, and I'll show you how I use these to create the schedule that I did, which took me about 3 hours worth of work, 3 drafts, but I got something that I thought was good, balanced, and we'll talk about that next week. So anyway, that's why we ended up with this. Again, don't worry if you're a Bobcat fan or you're a Thunderbird fan, you're not going to lose that rivalry. The league is going to work within the geographical pods. So there we go. So that is a look at why alignment was done the way it was, how it turned out. And again, this leads into next week. So make sure you join me next Saturday. Also, make sure you're joining me tomorrow as we talk about, for one last time, talk about the Dashers. Kind of a sad story. Just never really was meant to be, seems like. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate all of you who expressed your support and understanding for the difficult week that I had with dealing with informational changes and not getting the proper information and just doing my best to try and relate, real stuff to you. Not putting out false content. That is obviously not my objective. I want to be open and honest with you guys. The lack of communication gets very frustrating sometimes. I told you how I felt with the draft, how things went down with the draft, and as you're watching this, if you're watching this on Saturday, we still don't have resolution with that. Not completely anyway. So, I'll do the best I can. That's what I promise you. All right, and I'm not going to try and jump the gun on the league because that obviously is a fool's errand. All right, so there you go. Make sure that you're hitting like and subscribe for YouTube. Hit the notification bell so when a video comes up, you know it's there. And tell a friend that we're here. Also, make sure you're following me on Facebook. That's the most important place. That's where I put most of the information as it comes down. Go to Fed League Flash on Facebook. And we're also doing Thursday podcasts, as I'm calling it for the summer, the Fed Flash Weekly, Thursday on the Flash Audio Network. All the links are on the Facebook page. All right, so there we go. There's our video for today. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Again, thank you for watching and for all your support. And hopefully we will see you again Sunday for the final chapter with the Dashers.